What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Charles Enoch. So, I've been chatting with a few people and we talk about investing. And the number one question I always get is, hey, Charles, how are you able to obtain 2 to 3 properties every year? Which in the grand scheme of things, it's really not a lot, but everybody thinks that I'm doing something totally amazing. And I'm really not. There's no special secret to what I'm doing. I'm pretty much just utilize the BRRRR strategy. And for those that have never heard about the BRRRR strategy, it stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Now, the process may seem hard, but it's actually pretty simple. The toughest part for me is actually explaining the BRRRR strategy without like a whiteboard. I really feel like people look at me crazy like, all right, Charles, that sounds like a scam. I'll catch you later. So I decided to make a video just to show you guys how the BRRRR strategy works in very simple terms so everybody can understand it. Also, since I personally use velocity banking in my financial strategy, I will show you how to incorporate the BRRRR strategy with velocity banking. So just know that I'll be doing this in several parts. So part 1, I'm just going to focus on the BRRRR strategy. We won't be implementing velocity banking. I need you guys to know the basics of how the BRRRR strategy works first. So we all know the simple analogy, we gotta crawl before we walk, walk before we run. And that's pretty much what all these parts are gonna be doing. So we got the whiteboard in the back, but before we get there, go ahead, just take a little time, hit that like button for a brother, make that thing turn blue. And for those that are new to the channel, go ahead, take time, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me reach a higher audience base as a small YouTuber, and I definitely appreciate it. All right, so let's break this BRRRR strategy down. Come on. All right, so we're on the whiteboard. So I just want to give you guys a little breakdown of how I personally got started into the rental properties here. So when I purchased my primary home, it was a foreclosure and I had to put a little bit of work into it. So I got sweat equity out of the house. So I'll give you the numbers here to break it down. So the primary residence, my purchase price was $185,000 here, and I got a loan on that. Once I fixed it up, it appraised for $266,000. So what I did, I went to the bank, and the difference between 185 and 266 is $81,000. So I got $81,000 in sweat equity. Now, when I went to the bank, I pulled out a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, and they gave me a loan to value of 80%. And what that particularly means is they gave me 80% of the $81,000 of equity that I had in my house. So out of the $81,000 that I had in my house, they gave me 80%, which they gave me a HELOC of $65,000. So with $65,000 on hand, I decided to invest in the Midwest. Most of my properties are in the state of Kansas, where the properties are pretty cheap. They're C-class properties, and I get them around about $50,000. They are distressed properties, so I have to fix those up. Now, when I fix those properties up, they usually rent about between $750 to $950, depending on the property in the area. Now, I have a property management since I do it out of state, and the property management does take a percentage out of the rent here. So I did use the net rent, and the net rent is usually between $700 on the low end and on the high end, $865 after they take their percent out, the property management. So I just use a round figure on the BRRRR strategy for this example of $800 per month is what we're going to be renting out the houses for, even though it could fluctuate between $700 to $865. All right, so we're just going to do a brief overview. We're going to get down to the nitty gritty, but I'm just doing a brief overview in regards to how the BRRRR strategy works here. So in the state of Kansas, I already have a real estate agent that looks at these properties for me. So to put it in simple terms, we're going to buy a property for about $50,000. Now, when we're buying the property, we're looking for a distressed property where the properties around it, they're gonna be about $73,500, let's say $74,000 once we fix it up. So we're constantly looking for that sweat equity of the house. So we're gonna always get something that's needs a little work here. So the first step, we buy the $50,000 property. Next, we are going to rehab the property. We're going to put about $5,000 in to kind of fix it up, make it look good, put the lipstick, the makeup on there. Next, we're going to rent out the property for $800 per month. Once we do that, we're going to go back to the bank. We're going to refinance the property. The bank is going to say, hey, this property now is worth $73,500. Once they say that, we're going to say, hey, can we get a HELOC on that property? Since the property is paid in full because I use my HELOC on my primary residence to buy it in full, the bank is going to give us a loan to value for rental properties of 75%. And 75% of $73,500 is about $55,000. So now we just got $55,000 back. The next thing we're going to do is just repeat the process of buying another house. So that's kind of the gist of what we're doing. All right, so let's look at the process. We're going to go into a tad bit more detail of the BRRRR strategy. So remember, if I'm using my HELOC on my primary residence, the $65,000, then I'm going to buy a distressed property using my HELOC of $50,000. Now the distressed property, we want it in an area where majority of the properties are in that mid-range $75,000 range. So once we identify a property that's about $50,000, but it's surrounded around properties that are around that $75,000, we're going to want to buy that property in full. The next step, when we are buying these properties, we are making sure that there are no very major repairs. We don't want a bare house that's just skin and bones, that doesn't have any walls or anything like that. The houses that we're looking for are really ugly houses. It may have a couple holes in the walls. It may need some flooring. It may need, some painting over. Nothing too crucial. We're not trying to fix foundation problems or anything like that. We're just looking for an ugly house that nobody really wants to buy and put the maintenance in to do the floors, do the walls, or it can even be exterior maintenance in regards to chopping down bushes and things like that. So once we find that, we're going to rehab the place. So we're going to use about $5,000 to fix the property up. And the $5,000 is coming from my HELOC, my $65,000 HELOC on my primary residence. Now, once we have fixed the property up, remember, we have used $55,000 on our home equity line of credit. Now that it's all fixed up and it looks really nice, really good, we're going to want to rent this puppy out here. So the next step, we're going to rent the property out for about $800. And this is going to be net. So when the property management takes their fee out and everything, you should get $800 coming in to your bank account. Now, when you get this $800, you're strictly going to put the $800 back into your HELOC. So every single month you get the $800, throw it into the home equity line of credit. Now we're going to go deeper into detail on that in part 2, but just know once you get that $800, throw it all into your home equity line of credit. Now the next step, for me, how the bank is set up that I'm going through, I have to wait 6 months from purchase to get a HELOC and get it appraised. So every 6 months, I'm going to be getting that HELOC. So that's why I'm able to get 2, maybe 3 properties every year, but I do have to wait 6 months. And it's also a good thing too. You want to make sure that the property's doing good, your tenant's doing good for that 6 months before you start investing into another property. And for me, all the properties that I've had, I haven't had any bad tenants yet. Again, I let the property management do their thing. So from my experience, it's really rare if you have the right property management that you're just constantly just getting bad tenants. So the 6 months should go pretty smooth. And once the 6 months goes smooth, we're going to go to the bank and we're going to apply for a home equity line of credit on the house that we just bought in full. So since you bought the house in full, I mean, you're going to get mailed the title and everything. Now, if we do our research right and our calculations right, since all the other properties around it was about that $75,000 mark, let's say that the bank said, hey, this house is now worth $73,500. Now, the reason why I use $73,500 because it's really simple math in regards to the bank will give you 75% of the $73,500, which equals $55,000. Now, again, sometimes it does not work specifically like this. This is a perfect situation. I just want to let you guys know. Sometimes when you're doing it, they may say it's worth $70,000, or they may say, hey, it's worth $76,000. Again, you are guesstimating in regards to the houses around it. So sometimes you don't exactly get what you think that the appraised value will get. But again, with repetition, you're going to get better and better at pretty much predicting what the house value will be after you fix it up. So, but let's say everything's perfect and we got the 75% of $73,500. That means that we would have a HELOC cash in our bank of $55,000. Now, the last step of what we're going to do, since we have $55,000 to invest, we're obviously going to repeat the same step again. Now, those that are more visual learners, the wifey has put an illustration up, and this is how she really learns as well too. So we're going to repeat it one more time if you didn't understand in regards to the bullets. You know, maybe a picture will best help you understand how the BRRRR strategy works. So it's this simple here. So first, we're going to buy a house with the HELOC that we have on our primary property. So since it's $65,000, we're going to buy a $50,000 house that is distressed, that needs work. Second, we are going to rehab the house. We're going to repair the house to make it look really good. Brand new floors, good paint on there, you know, make it look real homey. That should only take about $5,000. Again, we are not looking for properties that need whole roofs on it, everything's messed up, foundation problems. We are not looking for that. We are looking for properties that need a little bit of work in there, about $5,000 worth of work. Once we do that and we have it all fixed up, the next step of what we're going to do, we're just going to rent it out. We're going to rent it out for about $800 per month. And when you get that $800, put that straight into your home equity line of credit. Again, we will talk about the velocity banking strategy on part 2, but I just want you guys to get the BRRRR strategy and how easy it is to do. So once you get the 800, throw it into the home equity line of credit. We're going to do this for about 6 months. Remember, my bank personally says that you got to wait 6 months before we appraise it. You can get other banks that they may do it in a month or two. But again, I like the 6-month rule. I like to make sure that my property is doing pretty good, the tenants are doing good, and I'm getting my payments on time. So I'm willing to wait those 6 months to get my appraisal. But when the 6 months come, we're going to refinance to get a home equity line of credit. They're going to say, hey, you know what? That property is worth about $73,500. So when they say it's that much, they're going to give us 75% of the value of the house, which will equal about $55,000. Now, since we have $55,000, we're just going to repeat the process. Go get another house, then rehab it for about $5K, rent it out, and then get it appraised. It's going to be around that $73,000 mark. You get the cash right on back. So this is the BRRRR strategy. It's nothing that we're buying houses in full and then we are saving up all our money to buy another house. That is going to take a very long time. This is not what savvy investors do. They're going to be utilizing the BRRRR strategy. And the BRRRR strategy, again, it is that simple, where all we're doing is recycling the money every single time and pulling money out of the house that we rehabbed. So again, this is a short video, but I did want to make the video, especially when I'm having conversations with people. I'm gonna just be like, hey, I'm gonna shoot you this link so you can understand what I'm talking about and they don't look at me crazy. So if this really helps you out, go ahead, remember, hit that like button for a brother, make that thing turn blue. And if you guys are new to the channel, go ahead, please hit that subscribe button for me. We're getting close to that 600 mark, and that is amazing. I really do appreciate it. And like always, I hope you guys have a good weekend. Guys, peace out.